Lee Douglas, my partner in crime, a good time gal. How are we?
Oh my God, we're so good. Fi. This is Queer Girls Watch. We're watching Series 3, Episode 11 of The West Wing, 100,000 Planes. And I have so much to say. But how are you?
I'm good, yeah. I was like mildly bamboozled by this episode because just so much happened.
In the words of the classic British girl band, The Saturdays, I'm all pumped up. Yeah, I feel alive.
And really, here's a shout out to the Saturdays. Girls, how you doing? Wishing you all well. We would love a reunion tour.
Una, my countrywoman.
You know, we know it's probably not going to happen, but maybe like do one show for like Mighty Hoopla. Give the people what they want, you know?
Are they reforming? I feel like they're reforming. Let me just...
I'm surprised that your like algorithms aren't providing you with information about this already, Lee.
There are no confirmed plans for a Saturdays reunion, although some fans and some members like Una Healy have expressed interest.
So all we say is that on this podcast, we are putting forward good vibes for a Saturdays reunion. I would buy tickets.
Yeah. And like, let's not be rude when the girls get back together. Do you know what I mean? So many people were so rude about the Fifth Harmony reunion. And I just go like, guys, we can either have nice things or not. When the girls get back together, it should be greeted with nothing other than enthusiastic welcome.
Honestly, like there's so little to be joyful about in this world.
Normani is back on stage.
Do you know what I mean?
Please, that's all we need to care about.
But back to American politics. Yes, the last bit of conjecture before we get into this week's episode is, so he may have been mentioned on the podcast before. I have a dog. His name is Jed.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't name him Jed. He came to me with that as his given name. But he is very attention-based. He wishes to have my attention at all times. So when I am watching episodes of the podcast to prep, he sits directly in front of the television and he now knows where the DVD player is. So he can position his body in front of the DVD player so that I cannot pause it to make notes. I have to stand up and move him, thus him getting what he wants, which is attention. He has also become very passionately involved with the kind of theme tune of The West Wing and also the credits music. Normally because I'm like typing as that music is playing and like whistling along. And he's like, oh, a game. And so he'll sort of like prance around the room and like bring me things whilst that's playing, which is really nice because when it's like a sad episode, I just receive like several stuffed animals on my lap as I like weep and the closing credits play. But I just thought that's just like a little insight into my life and my own Jed, who I think is just as neurodivergent as the Jed Bartlett in this television show.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank
Beautiful.
you. Thank you. I love him. He's my baby boy. But really, we need to talk about episode 11, season 3, 100,000 Planes. Because, Lee, it's State of the Union time.
Oh my God. And how fortuitous. Joey Lucas is back, bitches. Just as Josh has got something going with Amy. It's ingenious.
And once again, Aaron Sorkin, romantic comedy genius.
Not only that, but she's got a new haircut.
She looks phenomenal. The previously on for this week is kind of like focusing on censure, also kind of like Amy and a post-truth world. It's a heavy vibe.
There's a lot of moving pieces.
Which is why walking straight into a Joey Lucas opener for me felt necessary. I needed to see her and Kenny. Very fun. So we open, it's the night of the State of the Union. The State of the Union is happening. And Sam is watching the video. And like, there's I don't know the terminology, but there's like the kind of live feedback of stuff, like the lines.
Live opinion polling.
There we go.
Which is wild.
Thank you for being smart.
Thanks.
And there is a woman standing with Sam and she's asking questions about it. And she's like, oh, like, what would Joey Lucas like have to say about this? And just a lovely, inclusive moment from Sam, which is that he calls to Kenny. And he's like, Kenny, could I speak to Joey? rather than doing a Josh Lyman and just shouting across the room at someone who is hearing impaired.
Yeah. Loved that. Also took note of that. Loved that as a moment. Now, I was watching this interaction unfold, and it would appear that the woman stood next to Sam is a Vanity Fair reporter doing like some kind of feature on him.
Yes. And there's a weird vibe.
First of all, I was like, is this a potential new love interest for Sam? Because it has kind of been a while. Ainsley Hayes, I fear, only popped up for like one episode in season 3 and is maybe gone.
I think she's like every now and then going to guest star.
Yeah.
And then I feel like we've kind of dropped the campaign team for a bit.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a while before we see Connie again.
Yes. Then I was like, hark, I hear the angels sing. Did we just say her name is Lisa? Which brought me all the way back to the start of season 2. When I last heard the name Lisa. So I was like, Aaron Sorkin makes no mistakes. Is this the Lisa? Because I know he's not doubling up on that name.
Not on a name with significance. So this was like a big, and also like he introduces her to Joey and Kenny. And then she's like, oh, why did you say like Lisa from Vanity Fair? And we were like, huh? But I would like to say that watching Sam watch his own speech work was very moving, personally, for me.
Is it like, did it feel like you on press night?
It truly. Of just him, like you could see him like watching how people responded to the work that he'd done. I think
just living through each and every word.
Yeah, it was
almost mouthing along.
Yeah, but not, and that was crucial. But I really loved it. I think and I really hope that this isn't taken away from me at some point, but I really, really love Sam Seaborn. I think he's such a gorgeous character, and he's so odd and wonderful, and he loves so hard. And that's full disclosure, this episode like recap is just going to be me love bombing hard on Sam Seaborn. And folks, listeners, respond as you wish, because I understand that like not everyone is a Sam Seaborn stan, but like,
how could you not be? Season 1, I understand. But then
he's a different man.
He's a different man. He's a new man.
He's a new man. We kind of brush over a section that was missed out of the speech where Sam's like, yeah, we kind of thought we might be curing cancer.
Yeah.
And then we just sort of moved on.
Yeah, I was like, what is this about curing cancer now? I will also say Jed's actual speech, we don't like spend too much time on like the content of the speech itself. But it is all, it has a touch of the George W. Axis of Evil vibes.
Yeah, which I suppose would be culturally relevant at the time of writing, right?
Yeah.
We swing into the after party, which we've never really been able to linger in very long, because usually there's some sort of drama going on State of the Union night.
Amy orders a Chardonnay.
Yes, Amy is there. She looks gorge.
But she's also ordering a Chardonnay.
Yeah, let's discuss
shit drinks in this show continue.
Look, I'm not an off-dry white kind of gal. I don't like a buttery white. That's not my vibe. It never has been. You know, I like salinity. I like a wine to be having a nice crisp, dry finish, you know? Do I hate Chardonnay? No, I don't hate good Chardonnay, all right? That would be crazy to say that. I think it has a time and a place. In 2001, in America, that Chardonnay is going to be vile. I'm just going to go out and say it's going to be an oaky, sweet Chardonnay. And frankly, Amy, I expected more from you.
Come for me if you will. I think all Chardonnay is disgusting.
I feel like with some styles of wine, it is terrible up to like a very high price point, and then it becomes really good. And in itself, I resent that.
I just feel, call me basic, but like I feel I rarely go wrong with a Pinot Grigio. If I'm feeling bougie, a Vino Verde, like there's just never a call for Chardonnay.
And this is coming from a woman who lived in Seattle, famously winemaking country.
Famously wine country, yes, thank you for remembering.
And also like cracking out some shards, you know? But yeah, Leigh and I felt very strongly on the shared doc about Amy ordering Chardonnay. we've gone into it for too long, but I think it's important. Now, the vibe between Josh and Amy, chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So Josh is like trying to talk to her and she literally just keeps saying, don't talk to me.
Has Josh screwed up with Amy, or does she just not want to deal with him while she's in professional mode?
I feel like we've come a long way from the kiss on the staircase at the end of last episode.
Something has intervened in the intervening time.
Sam arrives, gets a clap, gets a round of applause.
Love it when he gets recognition for his hard work.
Then Josh, this is more confirmation, Lisa. So Sam and Lisa come over to Josh and we have this exchange.
Still trying to get waved into Generation X?
Still a pompous jackass?
Oh, you betcha.
The law.
There's a history.
Leigh, the law. Like, Lisa has to be the Lisa, right?
Because she has to be.
That is simply the way you respond to the man who stole your potential husband-to-be away from you for a job.
Yeah. And it's also the way you speak to the woman who you resented because your friend was starting to build a life that didn't involve you.
Yeah, or that you were like, isn't the life he wants to lead.
Yeah, I'm loving that what Josh reads her for is like the modern day equivalent of being like, are you still trying to pretend you're Gen Z?
Nearly choked on my cup of tea there. It's such a good read.
Yeah.
And you know, her read, it's an honest retort, I think. Still a pompous jackass, like, yes, he is. And the fact that he owns that, I think actually is like...
It makes me love him
kind of fly.
more. Yeah.
It's very rock and roll. I love it. Now, should we discuss Lisa's hideous outfit?
It's so hideous. Oh, this poor woman was done so dirty. And it just like, it's a true casualty of the early 2000s.
Yes.
And it really makes me feel that, like, unfortunately, we're going to see dwindling returns on the, like, incredible 90s looks of Laurie and Mallory.
Yeah.
And I think we're, like, headed to quite a dark turquoise and brown suede place.
And what was, like, 90s, like, power dressing for women, something that we've seen time after time of like Margaret excelling in, CJ excelling in. Unfortunately, we're heading into a time where like a business casual was very much a vibe. And like, this is, I think, what Lisa has fallen victim to, which is she's wearing a black blazer, but it's not a good black blazer. It's not tailored. It's off the rack, which is fine, but in a very like Tammy girl. What's the American equivalent to Tammy girl?
Limited 2.
Like a limited 2 vibe. And she's got a kind of white shirt on, but it's like a ruffle down the button line.
I owned shirts like this
Me too. Me too.
I was 7 in the year 2001. I had no business wearing business casual attire. Why was that available to purchase in children's sizing?
Yeah.
Ruffled shirts had such a chokehold on the female gender in the 2000s. And it's so 1970s prom. It's just like, oh.
I would say it's criminal. Now, the other thing that Lisa has fallen victim to, and again, this is just a sign of the times, it's not on Lisa, is a bad bob.
And who hasn't been there?
And it's
who hasn't been there?
You know what? Like, it's so, you could see that it was trying to go for the Michelle Williams bob. We were trying to go for
Michelle Williams bob, often imitated, never equaled.
The thing is like she goes pixie with it. Like, that's the thing. And like, she's always clever to like put texture in her hair. And also like, she's one of the most beautiful women to have ever existed ever. And I love Michelle Williams. But I think what Lisa's gone for is she's been too scared to go full pixie. So it's slightly too long, but it's not like a long bob. So it's not hitting the shoulders. It's all one layer, but she has, and again, as someone who has a lot of hair, but very fine hair, like volume is always an issue. And it's a flat, kind of sad, lanky bob. And I
love, like, I'm sending so much peace and light to the hordes of women that I know took pictures of Michelle Williams to the hairdressers and did not walk out looking like Michelle Williams. Yeah. Like, part of my mental health preparedness program is that when I know I'm in a difficult emotional state, I have people in place in my life to stop me getting a bob.
Yeah.
And that was a tough lesson that I learned at the age of 14.
Yeah. I wanted to go much shorter than I should have gone. And you did call me back and we went for a mid-length when I was kind of in a time of turmoil. And I'm forever grateful for that. And then when I was in a better place, I went to the bob, you know, and the bob was better for it.
And it was a good bob.
Yeah. Thank you. Anyway, I would just love to confirm that this isn't a pile on the actress playing Lisa.
No, she was costumed.
Gorgeous performance. Fantastic. I feel like very actually beautifully cast opposite Sam in that you're like, there would have been a time where you would have been the perfect looking couple. But even now, like we're like maybe like 7 years on or 6 years on from that, you can see how you've changed as people. You don't quite match anymore. In that sense, the styling was perfect. Anyway,
yes.
I'm enjoying the flashbacks in this episode of like a paint by numbers of how we prepare for the State of the Union. This was super helpful for me as someone who knows a nothing. Because Leigh, what do we love to learn? A montage.
Yeah, I was living for the writing montage. I would like to know that before Toby writes on the whiteboard "We're nowhere," there are signs on the table around which everyone is working, reading "A Frontier of Progress." And it's kind of on the top of a pile of other kind of similar headlines, which I wish to God were legible, because I'd love to know what the other kind of like big buzz phrases were that the team had come up with.
Yeah, and I tried to pause on my DVD when he was writing the "We're Nowhere" to like read some of the other headlines on that board, but like it was so quick that it wasn't like legible. And I would love to know like what the production design team on the West Wing chose as like the things, the avenues that weren't taken, just to be nerdy. Then we see that the gang all learnt about the censure together. So obviously we know that Josh was on the inside, but the meeting that happens when we're being told that that's what Jed's going to accept is Josh, Toby, Sam, and CJ. And I feel like it was really good post the MS diagnosis news that we all found out in the same room at the same time.
Agreed.
Leo pulls rank in this scene when everyone's kind of a little bit like scrabbling for foothold. He's like, hey, he's about to be censured, and then he's going to deliver the State of the Union, and then he's going to run for re-election. Like we needed Leo a summing up, and we also need Leo to like steer the ship. Like we're getting through this, we're doing the State of the Union, and then we're on the re-election road. Like we're not, we need to be clear about what we want, our aims, and what we need to achieve. And I'm really glad that the process of that hearing hasn't like knocked Leo's focus.
Yes.
Would love to know, CJ is wearing a gorgeous skirt suit in this scene. It's like a stone color. And then she's got like a burgundy blouse underneath. It's gorgeous. Really good. And like great coloring and like I would say we're verging on a statement necklace era.
Yeah, we're entering the statement necklace era for sure.
But we're on the right side of it currently.
Yeah. It's so funny, not to bring up Vanderpump Rules again, but like watching the early seasons, you just see these like, young 24-year-olds wearing necklaces that take up their full décolletage. Like it's just from neck to bosom is full of necklace.
Yeah. And that's like, I remember being a teenager and like going to parties and like knocking on my sister's door and being like, please, can I borrow one of your statement necklaces?
Oh, I've seen the photos of the double pearl loop.
Double pearl loop. There was another like one which I do think was from Topshop that was like it was like green gemstones, and it was like kind of like a multi-tier, like a 3-tier kind of down situation. There was also a big period where it was like quite like a boho, like chunky, like faux crystals.
Yeah, I just had some necklaces that were like beads.
Beads,
like wooden beads.
Beads. We were big into beads. Bees? Beads. Bees.
Beads.
Beads.
The bee is the animal.
Yes.
As in Bumble.
Yes. Just a little Arrested Development deep cut there for anyone who enjoys.
I will say, speaking of Arrested Development, Josh then kind of tries to diffuse the situation by making a joke and then says, humor to lighten the mood. in an explanatory fashion. Josh, if you have to tell people it's a joke, it's not a joke.
Do you know what? What I will give Josh is that, so we all leave Leo's office. Josh makes this joke. Everyone's like, the fuck are you making jokes for? We're all so stressed. And then you and I were discussing this on the shared doc. It's interesting that like we see like Josh stepping up now in this moment. Like,
yes,
he sees that the joke is like not what the team need. And then he actually leads them in this moment, which we don't see all that often.
No, to the point where I'd actually forgotten that Josh could pull rank on someone like Toby or CJ. Because Toby and CJ just so clearly feel like the adults in the room.
Yeah. And Josh says, I recommended that he take the censure, and if any of you were on the inside, you'd have recommended it too. How does he deliver the State of the Union in 2 weeks? He's the President of the United States. He walks into the House chamber, and they're all going to stand up. Anyone here not believe this president can take it from there?
And that's where I go, like, I do actually agree with Josh on this. I mean, the team have the gift that they actually have like a good orator.
Yeah.
As the president that they're working for. So...
And as like people consistently say, like when he's public speaking, that is when Jed is at his most like dynamic. And that's why I was like, oh my God, the State of the Union. Like I would love to watch Jed Bartlett's full State of the Union. The current president of the United States?
Never.
No. And that's what's terrifying, right? You're like, I wouldn't want to watch him speak for 10 minutes.
No. And I have to say, like, Joe Biden, when he was on form, a very dynamic State of the Union.
Yeah.
You know, giving it back to the House and Senate members.
Yeah. How are Obama's State of the Unions?
Good. I think the criticism tended to be that he could get a little bit lofty.
For sure. But I feel like that was his public speaking style as well. Like he would,
I loved the thumb.
We got to remember the thumb. Yeah. And I think that kind of agreeing with Josh on this, he has that little moment where he's like, look, are you going to stand here and say that this president can't pull us out the bag? No one has anything to say. And then he's like, Toby and Sam, you got to dig in. Which is true, because he's kind of saying like, this is on you now, like give him something good and he'll do something with it. But I do think telling men to dig in, come on boys, you got to dig in. I find that very enjoyable personally. I think that's like deeply masculine. CJ and Sam leave, and as they're walking out, we have this little exchange where CJ's like, oh, I've got a reporter who wants to come and do like a personal piece on you, Sam Seaborn. She goes, you know the writer.
Who?
Lisa Sherborne.
That's funny because I used to be engaged to Lisa Sherborne. Confirmation, we have it locked in.
We're getting the backstory we wanted, Leigh.
It's the backstory of our dreams that we've been dreaming about for a season and a half almost.
Yeah.
We've been wanting to know about Lisa. I was beside myself, Fee. I was beside myself. I also feel that CJ handles this conversation really well.
Again, I think it harks back to in the last episode when Sam was upset about the tell-all book. She like managed him in a really good way that it wasn't like she was of a higher status than him.
No.
But it was like her being like, this is what I need from you as your colleague, which I think was really smart and like is a really great way of writing their relationship.
Yes.
Is that she's like, no, like, and the thing is that CJ is written to be this like very smooth talker. And she does do that to Sam, but I guess like the kind of backbone of what she's saying is we need to pull some heat off of Jed Bartlett. Like this whole administration is this one guy. Like why aren't we like putting forward key people in the team as like, what's the name of the guy in Friends where they get his pizza?
George Stephanopoulos.
There we go. It's like, why aren't we like George Stephanopoulosing this administration and being like, who is Sam Seaborn? So I get what she's saying. Like, let's do this Vanity Fair article. And like...
She's essentially saying, Sam, you've got to help me sex up the view of this administration, which I'm obsessed with.
But I do get, because like Jed Bartlett is a very cool guy, but he's also not cool.
Yeah.
So like, you do need to do that work. Then CJ's like, is the reason you two didn't get married because her name would have been Lisa Sherborne Seaborn?
Yeah, that's the reason. CJ somehow in this scene manages to be like so professional and serious about the conversation, but at the same time, like really affectionate.
Yes.
And she's making clear the whole time by kind of like gently ribbing Sam of like, Sam, I'm on your side. Like it's as if, you know, the famous thing of like the Princess Bride, that like every time he's saying like, as you wish, what he means is I love you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like CJ through this scene, every time she kind of like gently makes a joke at Sam, what you are hearing is, Sam, I love you.
Yeah.
Please
and
let
like,
me do this.
And like, I won't let her make a fool of you.
Yes.
But back to the party. Early polling numbers are in. And they're not good. Joey's like, yeah, this is kind of worse than we were expecting. Josh obviously is like, what the fuck? Oh my God, like, you said they wouldn't be this bad. I'm so stressed. Let the woman work.
Please, your emotional reaction is not her responsibility.
Also, like, can we please internalize that? Like, like, I don't know, sometimes he can be such a boy and it's so frustrating. You're like, one, let her explain. Two, she's saying that this is like very early data and that like, give me half an hour is basically what she says. Things are going to change. Frustration. But a little bit more, because we have a little bit more kind of like back and forth between Lisa and Sam and like a sort of frostiness. Like then there's a bit of a tension, bit of an energy.
My question to you, is Lisa what we expected?
I think I would have been hard pressed to imagine Lisa before now. But what I have been presented by Aaron Sorkin and the team is entirely correct.
It's entirely correct. I thought that when we met Lisa, she might be more of a villain, but I love that she's not.
I think what's phenomenal is there are quite a few people who are divorced or have had like significant breakups in this show. And actually, all of them seem to have happened because things have changed. There's not been like, and then she like cheat on me with her secretary or something. It's like, we don't really know why he and Lisa split. But I feel like having met Lisa, I'm like, it's because it didn't work.
Yeah.
And like, she is the college girlfriend that you moved to New York with. And like, you both get your first big jobs with. And you're like, well, I guess we keep doing this.
Yeah.
And I think both of them feel like them not getting married was the right thing.
Yes. It's much like that film, Definitely Maybe.
Once again, Aaron Sorkin is a rom-com writer.
Where it's like Ryan Reynolds in the question of like How I Met Your Mother. It's obviously Elizabeth Banks, the college girlfriend. But of the three women we're presented with, the college girlfriend / mother of his child is not actually the one that he's supposed to be with.
Yeah.
The one that he's supposed to be with is Isla Fisher.
Yeah. Also,
and then he just like has a beautiful time with Rachel Weisz.
Yeah. Which is, you know, part of life. Great film.
Yeah.
Actually, I haven't watched that film for a long time.
It's so good. And also like Elizabeth Banks and Ryan Reynolds in that film have like a very respectful ex-relationship where like Ryan Reynolds ends up saying to your one who was in everything at that time, Little Miss Sunshine, Abby Breslin. Yes.
Yeah.
He's like, I love your mom, but we just didn't work out. And then Elizabeth Banks appears and they have a clear mutual respect for each other. Anyway, I've gone on about Definitely Maybe.
The thing that I like is we have one particular interaction between Lisa and Sam where she says, you're really uncomfortable with me being here, aren't you? You're not just, you know, being you.
I don't know what you mean.
And that's called neurodivergence, I think.
It is.
When she's like, I just want to confirm you're not comfortable because I'm here and this isn't just like how you are day to day, because I know that day to day you are kind of like this.
Oh.
Yeah. And I don't know. I was like, oh, that's such a great way. And like, there's a way that she could have delivered that line that was like, and you're not like, you know, just like being your fucking self. It's her being like, you're acting like how I know you, but I want to confirm because I don't know you that well. Are you okay?
I think what has become clear both through kind of Sam's special interests and the fact that he does need to be quite direct about things. I think Sam Seaborn is in fact a really great autism representation.
I would say so. And like, I think also how like we've seen him have like quite strong emotional reactions to things. And then almost like when someone talks to him about it in a broader sense, he's like, oh, okay, I can now understand But for me at that time, it felt very strong and real. But now, it's really interesting. And what I would love to know is if Rob Lowe knew that that's what he was doing.
Yeah, but it is the fact that he as a character always needs to have the direct conversation before he can move on.
Yes. He doesn't like subtext.
No, he doesn't.
Like with anyone.
He doesn't like anything like being implied.
No, he's like, I want to know what you mean by that. And like, I think part of that's why he's so good at his job, because he's like, well,
yes,
you have to know what the facts are before you can spin.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'd love to take just a little time once again to check in with our in-house dynamic duo, Ed and Larry.
Our own personal representation in the West Wing.
Yes.
Because what I'm learning in this moment is that Ed and Larry are in fact the gossip queens of the White House.
They are introduced to Lisa and there's a comment which is like, it doesn't matter which one's which. And they're like, no, it doesn't. Love that. I would like to offer up the concept, Leigh, that they are in fact our Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of the West Wing.
Yes.
And therefore, what I would actually like is the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead version of the West Wing, which is just everything that's happened so far, but through the eyes of Ed and Larry.
Yeah.
To government manuals. Now, Donna is having a day.
She's having an intense energy about the prospect of a second date with Amy.
Yes, but I also do enjoy that she does flag with Josh that the first date wasn't actually a date because Amy wasn't aware she was going on a date.
Correct. Also, I'm loving that again in terms of the deepening of our respect for Donna as the season goes on. We just get a window into how stressful Donna's job actually is in terms of even just in a White House context, having to work out what card to put travel on. It's like, oh, I don't just have to like consult our company policy, which in and of itself, that can be a complicated process to work out like what's expensible and what's not. But she actually has to like consult government codes in order to work it out.
It's my personal worst nightmare.
It's horrendous because if you get it wrong, you're not just like potentially defrauding a company.
Exactly.
Like, you are in fact committing a crime.
For sure. The stakes are so high and her boss is so flippant about it. Would you like to be Donna or Josh?
I will be Donna, please.
Okay.
See part 301.15 subpart B of this chapter.
What's the problem?
Well, let's set aside that there is no subpart B. The rest of it uses a sentence structure with which I am not familiar.
Just put it on my credit card.
No, see, I think this is what it is designed to do, to break a person's spirit.
And damn it, that's my job.
We're getting beat by the system.
We are the system.
We suck.
Yes. I need the welfare to work memo.
And then Toby walks up. How many words in the Gettysburg Address?
266.
And the 10 Commandments?
173.
So you really wouldn't think you'd need 6,000 to discover how a plane ticket gets reimbursed?
No.
Donna at her absolute finest.
The fact that like she's like mid-flow with rage and she walks out of her office and is like just encounters Toby and just like goes for him and he speaks in response to her as if his soul has left him.
Also that he knows offhand the exact word count of both the 10 Commandments and the Gettysburg Address.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Although it could be a fun fact, it might not be. So he is wrong with the 10 Commandments.
Oh.
So in an English translation, it's much more than 173. But there's an argument online in various Reddit threads that he would be perhaps more familiar with it in Hebrew.
Right. Well, yeah, that would make total sense.
But I think the number of words in it in Hebrew is only 99. So we're thinking that maybe Aaron Sorkin just took like a ballpark. Me and the internet.
This is where you realize that like, although Aaron Sorkin might make no mistakes, he also, generally speaking, has no plan.
He's rocking and rolling, you know that. Like he's just at his laptop.
By the seat of his pants at all times. The fact that he just had free reign to write the episodes week by week with, I think, kind of without having to like submit a arc for the series or like where he was going with it is so insane to me.
As a producer on this show, you must have just had like violent IBS the entire time just from stress.
Also, apparently he like rewrote episodes so often. So he was so notorious for making last minute edits to scripts that often he made edits after it was sent to be captioned. So whenever what the actor is saying is slightly different from what's in the caption, it's because Aaron Sorkin had slightly rewritten the line between the script being submitted and when they actually filmed.
That's insane. Because I do wonder that, because like often, like I always watch the show with captions because otherwise I don't know what's happening. Mm-hmm. One, because like I don't have a very good quality TV, so like I can't hear a lot of the time what people are saying. And then also just because they talk so damn fast. Mm-hmm. So that explains that. That's a fun fact.
To your point, though, Toby is speaking as if his soul has left his body. And my question was, what is up with Toby? There is an energy.
My instinct there is, this is a really accurate depiction of the toll that the State of the Union would take on the Director of Communications. Yes. Like, this has been his life.
He then just gives a huge sigh and says, I need some pie.
Which is...
Why is that moving to me?
It's the most honest thing he's ever said.
I love just like openly acknowledging, like, I need my comfort food.
I just need like a little snack.
And I love that we now know that pie is Toby's comfort food.
Yeah. And then he's like, you want to come get pie with me?
And it becomes clear that he doesn't actually really want to have a work conversation. He just needs a little gossip break with Josh.
And I think, again, this is very accurate because, you know, when you're working on a deadline, whether you're like studying for something, or whether it's like something you're doing for work, and especially like when you've had like writing deadlines, Leigh, when we were living together and you'd like be shut away in your room writing, and then like occasionally I'd just hear like a tap at my door and like Leigh would appear and be like, you want to go get a coffee and a sweet treat? And then we would walk and get a coffee and a sweet treat and talk about something that was entirely nothing to do with the writing that you were doing. Yeah, and then you would return, go back into your room, close the door and continue writing. I feel like that's the equivalent that Toby's having.
Yes. And I just love that he's like recognized he needs a break. And the thought that's come into his head is, you know what would actually completely take me out of what I'm needing to do right now is going to Josh and talking to him about his girl crush.
Yeah, and being like, I'm not really invested, but like if you want to know. So what we gossip about is, so Amy has a boyfriend. She's dating someone at this time who is a congressman. His name is John Tandy, and he's a sitting congressman. And basically Toby was like, so there's a person who's going to challenge him at the primaries when he's next up for election, which I'm assuming would be in this next cycle. And she's a woman and like is very kind of like women's issues focused. And Toby's like, so I think maybe there's a possibility that like John Tandy's trying to get strong women involved with him and to be seen with certain people. One
with
of
this women's rights advocate.
Yeah, and Amy Gardner is a classic example of that. Anyway, I just thought, you know, maybe you'd want to know that. Now, if he'd been talking to a sane person rather than Josh Lyman, this would have been an interesting take. And Josh might be like, oh, that's fine. What Toby wasn't doing was giving Josh like ammo.
He wasn't giving Josh fact-based information. I think Toby's main point was to like let Josh know that Amy was actively seeing someone. And then I feel like from Toby's perspective, it was more of a, oh, and by the way, I have a suspicion about why that might be kind of like beneficial for the guy that she's dating. I don't think Toby's intention was to be like,
this is how you can break them up. Because that's what Josh takes it as, and we will get to that because it's insane. But first of all, dinner with the Bartletts.
I am dead. We're meeting Abby's friends who hate Jed.
You know what I found fascinating about this? One, Abby Bartlett not at the table.
Yes.
Not present. I'm assuming she's been wheeled away somewhere. We are at a table. Jed is sat at the head of the table. He is the president of the United States. Everyone else around the table is like a high-flying medical professional. And they are all talking like he doesn't exist. And he is the president of the United States. And that is...
It's incredible.
Phenomenal. And Jed's just like there, like tapping his spoon, like, this is so boring.
This is hell. Yeah.
And then someone's talking about some specific like research, and they're like, yeah, because, you know, we could have a cure for cancer in 10 years. And Jed's like, what?
His little ears prick up.
And then he says an incredible quote.
This isn't barbecue night. I'm the commander-in-chief. Put your asses in the chairs.
And it's basically like, no, explain to me like I'm dumb how we can cure cancer in 10 years. And I get it. He's like, hey, big ticket item. We could change the course of the State of the Union with this. If I can go up there and be like, I can cure cancer, then people aren't going to be bothered about the MS diagnosis. They aren't going to be bothered about me lying. They're not going to worry about the censure. I can win.
It would be the Hail Mary of all Hail Marys. And maybe this is like me exposing too much about myself and my own kind of proclivities, but like that line from Jed is the hottest thing he's ever said.
Put your asses in the chairs.
This isn't barbecue night. I'm the commander-in-chief. Put your asses in the chair. It's very like dominatrix.
Yeah, it's just sort of like, by the way, I'm the president. I'm not just Abby's husband.
Mm-hmm.
I know you think I'm very folksy, but like actually, I'm the leader of the free world.
Yeah.
2, I'm out of pie.
Toby comfort eating because he's stressed out at work.
Toby just snacking his way to a deadline is truly relatable. So he's checked in with Josh, read Josh's love life, and now he's checking in with Sam.
Checking in with the boys' love lives.
Yeah. And he's a little bit sad because there's no pie left. And he kind of asks Sam how this thing's going with the Vanity Fair reporter.
He's asking the important questions. He's asking the questions that the girlies want the answers for. And therefore, I'm going to have to rescind Ed and Larry being the gossip queens of the West Wing. I believe it is, in fact, Toby.
Correct. Toby just asks, like, why didn't you get married?
Oh my God. And Sam's response is the most devastating response to that question that you can possibly give, which is, she didn't like me very much.
But it tells me everything I needed to know in the same way.
It tells me everything. It's 6 words long. And yet it gives me like an Osborne play.
So I would like to proffer this, dear listeners, Leigh. Think back to that really significant relationship in your life. Like the one that you were like, this is the person. Where it almost all happened and then it didn't. I feel that everyone could sum up the reason why that relationship didn't work with that sentence.
Oh, Fee. Whoa. On a Friday morning. Whoa.
I think if I look back at like the most significant relationship I had, I think I could say they just didn't like me very much. Like at its core. Do you know what I mean? Leigh is ashen faced.
I also think that's like true of like friend breakups as well.
Yeah, because it's so simple, but I think it fundamentally is like the person that they wanted me to be, they realized I wasn't ever going to be that person.
Like the version of me that they loved was not who I am.
Yeah. And so let's go to Josh's first date with Amy. First real date.
Yes.
So what he does, instead of just like asking how her week's been, he immediately begins talking about John Tandy and the fact that John Tandy doesn't actually really like her for real.
It's so, in the words of Taylor Swift, it's so high school.
Do you know when you're like, you literally sat on your doorstep last week and said, look, I feel really vulnerable about this, but like, I feel like I missed out learning how to like be good at talking to women. And I just really want you to like give me a chance because I really like you, but I'm just like not good at like expressing that I really like you. And he has this like beautiful moment. They had a kiss. And then he comes in and he asks again, he acts like such a prig.
He literally says to her in like the most cynical way, he says to Amy, "You're the door to women."
Which I thought was so funny because I'm like, that's just like Amy, because she's a great character, just sits and allows him to like go.
Dig his own grave.
Yeah, like he's literally there like shoveling. He's like 6 feet under and she's just sat there quietly.
Taking it all in.
And then like, she's not really responding. And then he's like, I'm saying this for your own good.
And then she has the most incredible response when she says, I have wit, I have charm, I have brains. I have legs that go all the way down to the floor, my friend. Don't talk to me.
And then she starts walking away and he's like, Amy. And she's like, no, don't. Like, there's a period of about 20 seconds where all she says to him is, don't talk to me. And he keeps going. And she's like, and she's so firm. And it's a great depiction of someone being like, no, until you need to, I'm not going to tell you why you did something bad. You need to go away and do that work. Don't talk to me until you want to come and apologize.
Yeah. It's like, Josh, you were never supposed to say the thing about John Tandy. You were just supposed to take that in and then let it fall apart with the other guy. Just watch and wait and let it fall apart.
Be the guy that's there at the end of the phone.
We all know the Florence Nightingale effect. Just wait and then swoop in.
Just swoop in. Speaking of swooping, the coat
is swinging behind her as she walks away. It's incredible.
And the fact that the camera watches her walk away entirely from him. Lovely. We then have a period of like some walk and talks, kind of coming back into like the present day. We have a lovely little interaction with Charlie and Joey, which is really new. I feel like we haven't seen them interact as characters.
Yes. Yeah.
Ed and Larry. Shout out Ed and Larry. Do the two of you go anywhere separately?
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, that's stunning. We go to curing cancer in the Oval Office. So Jed calls everyone in, team meeting. He's like, this is my new idea. I've just had dinner. It's 11 p.m. But I would love for all of you guys to go away and work for an hour and a half on like, if we can make this work.
And Sam is the only one that's like, yes, let's go for it. And of course, Sam is the one who says, yes, let's go for it because he's our eternal optimist. He's wrong on this, but we love the optimism. Yeah. But you're wrong on this, Sam.
He just loves democracy and government, and he just loves the idea of the greater good.
He loves big dreams.
Yeah. But what's really interesting is, as part of the kind of State of the Union team, Joey Lucas, she's part of the team on this. And is what's really great is, and shows how like she's developed as like someone that they call in for polling. Like she steps forward and is like, no, I'm going to make my thoughts known on this. And she's like, honestly, I don't think it's a good idea.
Yes, Joey is incredible. And I do not understand why she doesn't have a full-time job on the campaign.
See, I agree with you on this. But I think as a pollster, she is probably making bank.
Right.
As like a gun for hire. And I feel that if she was being paid by the government, she would be taking a huge pay cut.
Right.
And so I feel like that would be a reason not to, surely.
Well, she wouldn't be being paid by the government.
Well, she'd be paid by the campaign.
Yeah.
But equally, I think like being like, she could be running polls for like, I think if you just worked for the campaign, you're just doing polls for the campaign, whereas she could be doing polls for like a couple of senators, a few Congress people. Like, I think her roster is more full as a self-employed person. I'm
just not forgetting that we did mention her being a campaign manager for a California politician before. And so I'm not giving up hope that at some point she might be a campaign manager for someone. The more Joey Lucas is in this show, the better for me. I love her. I think she's amazing. I think her character is developing, which makes me feel like she's here for the long run. But I feel like that's my theory behind her not like coming on as a full-time character. Cool. But back to the party. I'm just going to flag that Josh wants Joey's attention, so he shouts, listen, after her. But I think he knows that it's not for Joey. I think he knows it's for Kenny. But equally, I think... But Sam did it so much more respectfully. Yeah. Not the vibe. Then Josh and Joey kind of have like a little disagreement because Josh is being petulant and Joey's like, just give me time. Let the numbers have time. I will get back to you. And Donna swoops in, like almost noiselessly arrives behind him as Joey exits. And it's phenomenal. So many women, so little charm. Gorgeous. We then see Josh have another massive kind of like fail moment with Amy. I think you wanted to mention Amy's look for the State of the Union. Yeah, she's in like a scoop neck, plum colored cocktail dress with a matching open jacket. And it's just gorge. I feel like Amy gives us hope for the 2000s. Yeah. Because it's not quite a jewel tone. No. It's
No.
deeper than a jewel
We're still in
tone.
an autumn palette with her, I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They kind of have another moment of her being like, don't talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then him being like, I'm just like looking out for you. And she's like, just don't talk to me. And then as she walks away with John Tandy, who's obviously there, he looks like he's obsessed with the chase.
He is. He's obsessed with Amy because she's kind of the only girl not really giving him attention. I will say the look that he gives to her and John Tandy as she walks away with John Tandy is bordering on Machiavellian.
Unbelievable. We jump back into flashback to see Sam and Jed talking through the cure for cancer idea, which is that Sam goes to Jed with the speech that he's written. And then like together they realize like it's not going to happen because there's so much that has to be put in place to make that sort of claim. And I get it. Like I loved in the previous scene when Jed was pitching the idea, he was like, when JFK said, I'm going to put a man on the moon, like there was nothing to back that up.
Yeah.
And this like beautiful like romanticism of like the American dream.
Yeah.
And I think it was lovely to put our two kind of desperate romantics in a room together and let them work out that like, you know, this one isn't the one. In Sam's words, we have other good ideas. And they're just two lads who love working for the good of the people and the country that they love.
They do, yeah.
But really what we want to do is close out this episode with the numbers.
Yes.
So the numbers are in, as in Joey has had enough time to actually process stuff and do her polling.
Yes.
And Leigh, it's good.
It's good. It's really good.
It's really good. We're polling at 69% for strong leader. Like all the numbers are up from where they were before the State of the Union.
Yes. What I will say is in response to the 69%, Josh does a full hip thrust.
Yes. And while he's doing it, he shouts, "We're back." And I think the thing that I can't get my head around with Josh Lyman is that he swings constantly from being like a nerd to a jock all the time.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe this thing doesn't quite exist in the UK in the same way that it does in America. Which is, you know, you can be a sports jock. You can be the cool kid. You can be the cool guy throwing the football. But then when you get to university, when you get to college and you're super smart, you're like at Stanford or Harvard, and you're just really, really clever, that is also kind of jock energy.
Yes.
Like, I don't know that that quite works in the UK.
No.
It's not the same. So I think maybe that's what in my head I'm like, why are you acting like a jock? And actually it's not. He's like, there's a vibe, there's a man, there's the intellectual, overeducated, like intellectually superior man that he like swings into from time to time, which I hate and find deeply unattractive. But then the thing that I did enjoy was that he lifted CJ up and kissed her on the
I
cheek.
love that. Yeah.
And I don't think Alison Janney was expecting him to do that because she did. Yeah. She lets out like a girlish giggle, like genuinely, like she's like Bradley, what are you doing?
Yeah.
He then has a devastatingly long hug with Donna, which is really uncomfortable. But we did pan away to CJ just like grasping Toby's face and kissing it all over. Which I love. And then CJ's like, I need to go and like grab a copy of those numbers. I'm just going to go and put them in my office. And like as she's striding away, Toby's just like, CJ, come dance with me. Oh, so cute.
Now, this is what I've been itching to discuss for the last hour.
Cool.
CJ's whole energy is incredible. She strides into her office and says to Carol, get on the couch, I'm going to do you right now.
So Carol's in there and she's like, Carol, you can have the rest of the night off. And Carol's like, it's 1 a.m., but sure. And then like Sam comes in and she's like, Sammy, Sam. Get on the couch, I'm going to do you right now. And he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to Carol. Like it's the whole, my God. Like, she's out of her mind. But also I'm like, if you were Carol walking out of your room, like walking out the room and you heard her saying, I wasn't talking to you, I was talking to Carol. Like Carol's taking that home.
She is. To her wife at home being like, oh my God, you're not going to believe CJ actually flirted with me today.
Yeah. It's real. And then CJ does another like wonderful like collegiate go-girling moment with Sam.
Yeah.
It wasn't a Vegas act, and I wouldn't hang your head when you say it got the job done. That job was impossible, and it had to be done. And there aren't 10 guys in the country who could write that speech. which is really lovely. But yeah, I think like Sam feels deflated. He goes back to his office and Lisa comes in. Now, the breakup post-mortem, Leigh, that happens at the end of this episode.
It's the conversation that many of us never get.
Yeah. And I think to have it like that many years after it happened, very interesting. But again, it's like not emotionally heightened. It's not like, you left me. It's just being like, what did happen from your perspective?
Yeah.
And I felt to my core when Sam was like, well, you wanted to go to like the Ralph Lauren party and like you cared about like where this thing was happening and who saw you at this thing. And that didn't matter to me.
And then she goes, yeah, but you left me, Sam.
Which I think is like brutal moment, which is her being like, you walked out on our relationship before you left me. You know, you're saying that we were incompatible, that like I, you know, cared about things that you didn't care about, but you proposed to me.
Yeah.
So like,
and then the minute that Josh called,
you're ready to go.
You changed your mind.
Do you know what I mean? So I just think it was a phenomenally written postmortem.
Yeah.
Really good. And like a beautiful performance from both those people, because you're like, I can see the people who were into each other.
Yeah.
I can see the couple that everyone was like, oh my God, Sam and Lisa are coming.
Yeah.
But like, you're not those people now. And there was no flicker of like, I miss us. It was like, that was sad, but like, it happened.
We were different people then.
And then he reads her the speech that he wrote for the kind of curing cancer section of the State of the Union. And she's like, that's really good. And then
he presses Control-Alt-Delete and I felt it in my bones.
Yeah. And that was
the
end.
Return to the blank page.
And that was the end of the episode.
Best fashion.
Yes. The quick fires. Once again, I think Amy Gardner coming in to just steal best fashion.
For sure.
The date night coat and the swoopiness of it. And actually the State of the Union outfit.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I
fully.
wonder if it's her clothes that I love or her rejecting Josh that makes her so hot.
But she, you know what? The scoop neck really works for her. Every time she's in a scoop neck, I eat it up. It just,
yeah. British or Irish politician, what could they never get away with?
I think I'm going to have to give it to you, which is making a bold claim.
Ever.
Yeah.
You know, like, I just think the concept of the State of the Union wouldn't really work here. Because like leading politicians and leaders of political parties do like big speeches to their party at like party conferences. And they are often like 45 minutes, an hour long. But it's just like to be like, we're going to go to the moon.
Yeah.
In the word, like in the mouth of a British politician, I just no. It's a no for me. We're just always going to be pessimists in this country.
Yeah.
So sue me. Queerest moment that never intended to be queer.
Yeah, CJ talking about doing Carol on the couch every time.
Yeah, amazing. I also think Josh and Toby going for pie, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Like slightly queer-coded. And just being like, I really, like, talk to me about, like, what's going on in your love life. I want to be distracted. Best writerly moment?
I think it's got to go to, she didn't like me very much.
Yeah. Yeah. Saying so much with so little.
To sum up a whole relationship in 6 words is pretty crazy.
Yeah. I think I'm going to give an honourable mention to Amy Gardner for the I have wit, I have charm, I have brains, I have legs that go all the way down to the floor, my friend. Don't talk to me.
I just feel that she didn't like me very much as Aaron Sorkin's equivalent of baby shoes for sale, never worn.
Oh my God.
Do you know what I mean?
Fucking hell, yeah. That's awful.
Yeah.
What is that with reference to? Just like a writing trope.
Baby shoes for sale, never worn is like what literary people are like. It's the shortest short story.
Yes. Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah. Well, look at me quoting Ernest Hemingway, who I famously despise, but yes.
It's okay. We'll give him that one. Man, I feel like a man.
Yeah, I have to agree with what you've put, which is just that every single thing that Josh said and did in this episode.
Yeah, he's such a prick in this episode.
Yeah.
I have a really strong feeling about the moment I felt proudest to be an American. And that's just Jed Bartlett and Sam Seaborn, like just loving hope.
Yeah, I think also for me, it's got to go to CJ in the final scene saying it wasn't a Vegas act and I wouldn't hang your head when you say it got the job done. That job was impossible and it had to be done. There aren't 10 guys in the country who could write that speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what a fucking great episode.
Mm-hmm.
What are we learning about?
It's a bit of a non sequitur, if I'm honest.
Great.
But we have had, in the title of the episode, we're obviously referencing the 100,000 planes that the United States built in order to get ready for World War II. And we have had in recent episodes some discussion around World War II veterans and representations of Pearl Harbor.
Yes.
And so I wanted to kind of dive into Pearl Harbor.
The film Pearl Harbor.
Well, I do.
Leigh wants to spend a study session talking about the cinematic film.
The cinematic
Pearl Harbor.
Masterpiece Pearl Harbor.
No.
But what I will say is I very much want to, and I was speaking about this with some of our Patreon members on Discord, but I really want to do a deep dive into Japanese internment during World War II, because I think it's a really like important and sad, but also important chapter in American history. And so I was asking our patrons whether there's a episode that kind of where that gets touched on at any point where it might make sense to do that as a study session. And I was like, just tell me spoiler free whether it's something that comes up. And I don't believe it ever does based off of what the patrons were saying to me. So I think because there wasn't like a super clear thing to dive into for the study session this episode, because famously we've already done what even is a State of the Union. I think I'm going to do Pearl Harbor this week. And then when the next time there's not something super clear to cover, we can have a little chat about what Japanese internment was, why it happened, when it happened.
Great.
But the necessary context for that is to understand what happened in Pearl Harbor.
Which is great and really relevant for me because my entire knowledge of this piece of history has come from the film Pearl Harbor, which I don't think is primarily focusing on historical fact.
Yeah. And I just think it's like, I think, you know, knowledge of Pearl Harbor and World War II is just like taken as such a given in a series like The West Wing that I do feel it's kind of like important to cover, especially because it's come up quite a bit in the last few episodes just in passing.
Yes.
So the basics.
Great.
Pearl Harbor is a U.S. naval base near Honolulu, Hawaii.
Yes.
Located almost in the center of the Pacific Ocean. So it's 2,000 miles from the US mainland and 4,000 miles from Japan.
Okay. So that's why it was relevant at that time.
Obviously, there was a surprise attack by Japanese forces on Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, just before 8 a.m. that Sunday morning. Hundreds of Japanese fighter planes descended on the base of Pearl Harbor and managed to destroy nearly 20 American naval vessels, including 8 battleships and over 300 airplanes.
Okay, I feel like those are the statistics that I didn't know.
2,400 Americans died in the attack, including civilians, and another 1,000 people were wounded, and 129 Japanese soldiers were killed. Obviously, it was a surprise attack, but at the same time, it didn't come out of nowhere because Japan and the United States, regardless of World War II, had actually been edging towards war for decades at this point.
Yes.
The US disapproved of Japan's expansionist plans with China. And basically the government believed that the best way to solve this was through economic sanctions.
Right.
Japan had declared war on China in 1937, resulting in the Nanking Massacre. America responded with economic sanctions and trade embargoes. Basically, their reasoning was that, like, without supplies like oil, Japan would have to rein in their expansionism.
Right.
But actually, the sanctions just made Japan more determined to stand their ground.
Right.
There had been months of negotiations between Tokyo and DC, with neither side budging. So war was kind of inevitable But why was the Pacific Fleet in Hawaii? Just to go into the history of the place for a moment, and then we'll come back to why it's relevant. In the 1890s, there was a rebellion by the Anglo population of Hawaii against the rule of Queen Lilokalani. That was successful, and they then declared the Republic of Hawaii. The rebels requested annexation by the United States, which took place in 1898. From that time, a society grew up in Hawaii, which was a combination of native islanders, the native Hawaiian population, Americans, and Japanese immigrants. The economy was really strong because there was a lot of sugarcane plantations in Hawaii. And there was also a strong US Navy presence.
Right.
By 1940, the tensions between the US and Japan had built up so much that FDR had actually ordered the Pacific Fleet to move from its home port in San Diego, California, to Pearl Harbor in Hawaii.
Right. And that's kind of that's a show of force in itself, right?
Yeah. But American intelligence was like completely convinced that a Japanese attack would take place at one of the European colonies in the South Pacific. So either the Dutch East Indies, Singapore, or Indochina. They had just moved the Pacific Fleet to Hawaii to be closer, but they never imagined that an attack would happen on Hawaii.
Okay.
And they were so confident that it wasn't going to be Hawaii that was attacked that the Pacific Fleet in Pearl Harbor was like almost undefended.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
And hundreds of planes were like squeezed into the airfields by Pearl Harbor. So Pearl Harbor was an easy target from Japan's perspective. And the Japanese plan on the attack on December 7th was pretty simple: to destroy the Pacific Fleet so that America wouldn't be able to fight back against Japan's armed forces expanding across the South Pacific. So 8 a.m., Japanese planes fly over Pearl Harbor. And bombs are coming down, bullets are coming down. At 8:10 a.m., an 1,800-pound bomb smashed through the deck of the USS Arizona and landed in the ammunition magazine, igniting more than 1 million pounds of ammunition. And the ship exploded and sank with more than 1,000 men trapped inside.
Yes, I feel like I did read about that in my history A-level. I feel like that particular moment.
So half of the people who died in Pearl Harbor were on the USS Arizona. And the sunken battleship is still there at the Pearl Harbor Memorial as a monument to the Americans who died. Then torpedoes pierced the shell of the USS Oklahoma with 400 sailors on board. And the Oklahoma then tipped onto her side and slipped underwater. By 2 hours later, so by 10 a.m., the attack is over, and every battleship in Pearl Harbor had either been sunk or sustained significant damage.
Wow.
So that's the USS Arizona, Oklahoma, California, West Virginia, Utah, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Nevada. But Japan failed to ultimately completely disable the Pacific Fleet because the base's most important onshore facilities, so like the oil storage depots, the repair shops, the shipyards, and the submarine docks, were all intact.
Right.
And by the 1940s, battleships were not the most important naval vessel anymore. It was aircraft carriers.
Yeah, for sure.
But just to touch on the film Pearl Harbor for a moment,
Please do.
I think that's what a lot of people have as a view of like what the Pearl Harbor attacks were. The film Pearl Harbor was the most expensive movie ever filmed up until that point. And some survivors of the Pearl Harbor attack and veterans found the film distasteful. A pilot portrayed in the film, who we're going to talk about in a second, Kenneth Taylor, described it as a piece of trash, over-sensationalized and completely distorted.
Wow. Like that's the Toby Ziegler level of feedback.
And that is from one of the men whom Ben Affleck and Josh Hartnett's characters were based on.
Oh, God.
Now, the film also heightens the tension by depicting Japanese bombers as targeting hospitals, which has no historical basis. And also that is a war crime, which did not happen on Pearl Harbor. Also, the way the planes are kind of shown as flying would have been like very dangerous and not realistic because the planes were agile for the time.
Yes.
But again, it's still the 40s. But to just chat about Lieutenants Kenneth Taylor and George Welch, who Ben Affleck and Josh Hartnett's characters are based on, they were two of the only Americans who actually got planes up in the sky on that day to kind of fight back. And they are credited as having shot down 6 Japanese planes. And they had, as depicted in the film, been at the Officers Club at Wheeler Field the night before dancing. And they did join an all-night poker game also. According to some accounts, they'd gone to sleep before the attack actually started and were awoken by the Japanese fighter planes. Other sources say that the poker game was actually just wrapping up when the attack started, and that they were actually thinking about like an early morning swim before finally turning in at 8 a.m. But regardless, as depicted in the film, they, without orders, drove to an airfield that had not been targeted and, you know, kind of did the get me into a goddamn plane thing, which I just think is super interesting because I didn't believe that there was kind of any historical basis for those two characters. Obviously, the love triangle is entirely fictional.
For sure. I had no doubt about that.
And actually, Kenneth Taylor, the one who said that the film was a piece of trash, he was actually injured. He got shot in the leg in his plane. They stayed up in the sky until they ran out of ammunition. He then came back down. They were ordered not to take off again, but they took advantage of some more enemy fire coming in. While everyone was distracted, they just like refueled and got back in the air again.
Right.
But without orders. And Kenneth Taylor went on to have like an insane career, and he finally retired as a brigadier general in 1971.
Wow.
He passed away in 2006 at the age of 86.
Grand old age.
Yeah. Similarly, Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character in the film, Doris Miller, was also a real man. He worked on the family farm in Waco, Texas with his 3 brothers until September 1939 when he enlisted in the Navy for some extra money for his family. He was a cook 3rd class, which was one of the few rankings open to black sailors at the time due to Navy segregation. And he was stationed on the USS West Virginia. He also, as depicted in the film, had become the ship's heavyweight boxing champion while serving. And at 6 a.m., he was actually collecting the ship's laundry when the attack started. And he went to his battle station only to discover that it had been taken out by a torpedo. So he went to the deck and was assigned to carrying away wounded soldiers. He then returned to save his mortally wounded captain. And then when there was kind of no other orders to follow through and he saw like an open gun, he, without any weapons training, manned one of the guns himself and fired until the ammunition was spent. He received the Navy Cross for his actions. And he was the first African-American ever to be awarded the Navy Cross.
Wow.
He was ultimately killed in 1943. Serving on the USS Liscome Bay, which was sunk by a Japanese torpedo. 2/3 of the crew died or went missing, including Doris Miller. But his legacy and the story of his heroism on the day of Pearl Harbor really paved the way for other African-American service members in combat roles, which wasn't possible through official channels in 1941.
Right.
And his likeness was actually then used in Navy recruitment drives in like an iconic World War II enlistment poster, which read "Above and Beyond the Call of Duty." In addition to the Navy Cross, he received the Purple Heart, the American Defense Service Medal, and a World War II Victory Medal. And in 1973, the Knox-class frigate USS Miller was named in his honor.
Oh.
Yeah. There are some other really interesting stories that you can dive into about the real people who were there that day, and many, many acts of heroism. But in terms of the aftermath, the USS Navy was temporarily kind of disabled by the attack. The attack really was what kind of turned the tide of American opinion towards declaring war, which Congress approved Roosevelt's direct declaration of war the day after the attack on December 8th. Which ultimately caused the US to join World War II more than 2 years after it had started. But I think, if we're going to talk about the the tragedy of Pearl Harbor. I don't know that it's a balanced depiction, which is something that I think was kind of under discussion with the veterans and the negotiations with the Smithsonian Museum a couple of episodes ago. I think it's impossible to kind of celebrate the heroism of Pearl Harbor and talk about the loss of life at Pearl Harbor without then acknowledging the atomic bombs that dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki several years later in 1945. Because as, to quote Aaron Sorkin in this show, all war is crime. Yes, on the 6th of August 1945, the first atomic bomb dropped over Hiroshima, delivering the equivalent of about 12.5 kilotons of TNT. Because of the geography around Hiroshima and the fact that it's like very flat with few hills to kind of limit the scope of the blast, and the fact that the bomb was dropped over the city center in an area crowded by wooden residential structures and a lot of businesses. In total, 92% of structures in the city were either destroyed or damaged by the blast.
Yeah.
It ultimately destroyed 5 square blocks of the city, and 180,000 people died within the first 4 days of a population of 350,000. Obviously, many people were killed on impact, but many other people died later from the effects of burns and radiation. And tens of thousands of others were wounded, disfigured, or poisoned, or had long-lasting, for the whole of their lives, health impacts from being close to the site of the atomic bomb that day. And then 3 days later, the second atomic bomb exploded above Nagasaki. The destruction caused by that bomb was more geographically limited because of the terrain. But it's estimated that between 50,000 and 100,000 people were killed by the atomic bomb over Nagasaki. And as I mentioned, you know, people who didn't die kind of on impact, many of them later became ill with radiation poisoning, severe burns, hair loss, nausea, and bleeding. Not to mention 90% of medical staff in both cities were either killed or disabled by the bombs, and what medical supplies existed ran out pretty quickly. So in terms of treating the injured, it was incredibly difficult. And ultimately, it was the dropping of the atomic bombs that led Japan to ultimately surrender on VJ Day, the 14th of August. American commanders kind of justified the use of the atomic bomb by saying it would save money and lives of American servicemen and Japanese soldiers and civilians too, because they said the war would continue on much longer with conventional bombing or a US land invasion and cause millions of Japanese deaths. I think those death toll numbers are kind of difficult to look at in relation to that claim. President Truman also said, and I understand that we were living in a world where Pearl Harbor, this huge tragedy, was very fresh for people, but he said some really difficult things surrounding the justification of the use of the atomic bomb. He said, when you have to deal with a beast, you have to treat him as a beast.
Yeah.
I think also, realistically, the bomb cost billions to develop, and the US leaders wanted to justify the expense and also to demonstrate to Japan that they were facing superior forces. And also, I think, the US wanted to make a demonstration and a show of power to their new rival, the USSR. I think it's important to note that in 1945, the idea of just war was already in international law, and in just war, only combatants can be specifically targeted, and harm to civilians, it must be a proportional response.
Yeah.
And needless to say, future generations, either born to survivors or born to those living in Hiroshima, had increased chances of small brain sizes, delayed development, blindness, and increased susceptibility to leukemia and other cancers. The Hibakusha, which is the collective name for survivors of the atomic bomb, have campaigned for many years for the impact of nuclear weapons to be acknowledged. And they've done a lot of work to educate generations on the subject and kind of contribute to the international momentum towards understanding the humanitarian impact of using these weapons. Also on Patreon, I've included just kind of like a little case study of a Japanese school student who was about 12 years old and survived the atomic bomb in Hiroshima, and kind of his life experience and how he lived with his injuries for the rest of his life, having been in the city center at school as a 12-year-old when the atomic bomb hit. So if you're someone who is subscribed to our Patreon, you can read all about his specific story. But I think it's an interesting case study because I think we think sometimes about obviously the death toll of the atomic bomb, but we don't necessarily think about how it impacted the lives that the survivors continued to lead in a way that maybe isn't as true of conventional weapons.
Yeah, I think it feels like certainly in like international classrooms, like in the UK, the impact of the like Pacific War and the dropping of the atomic bombs on Japan is like, it's very statistic based. It's very like, and then this is what happened. And like, this is the death toll of that one event happening, like in opposition to what you're saying, which is the long-term and multi-generational impact of that moment of war. I find it very interesting part of the war because I think when there was victory in Europe and then the aftermath of that and things like the Nuremberg trials, we see a real kind of like pulling apart of what a war crime is and people being held accountable and people being put on trial for what was done. And I do think that my experience of history is written from a certain perspective. And that's what we're taught in UK schools and in American schools. And so it is interesting, like as an adult, going to the flip side and reading, for example, like the case study that you've put out there, which probably wouldn't have been in the textbook that would have been at our schools.
You know, whatever kind of atrocities Japan was responsible for, you know, a 12-year-old boy going about his school day was not responsible for them and had no part in them ultimately. And yet, you know, he watched his school friends die and had lifelong pain, like severe pain. It's maybe easier to talk about the war in Europe because the Nazis were so evil that there's a really clear kind of sense of right and wrong. I think especially if you're like learning about it from an allied nation's perspective.
Yeah.
It's really clear to be able to say like we were the good guys here.
Yeah.
And therefore, like I think the discussion in one of the previous episodes about it being un-American to highlight the experience of Japanese civilians and Japanese Americans as, you know, the plight that Japanese civilians and Japanese Americans faced. But I think it's more difficult to talk about the Pacific War because I think it's more morally conflicting.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that one. Well, was there anything in particular, any resources that you were like, this was an interesting book, this was an interesting journal that you got stuck into on this study sesh that you would recommend to people?
As always, my full resource list will be on Patreon.
Lovely. Yeah. I really don't know where we're going to go with this next episode.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued. I'm like excited to see what other kind of historical topics or political topics we get into that could be the next couple of study sessions. But I also just like, I'm concerned about what's happening to Leo. I want to know where that storyline is going. I also need some closure and or resolution and or steps forward or backward as regards Donna and Cliff. Anything that you are particularly looking out for, Fee?
Well, the thing is that we're riding high on the polling numbers, and I feel like, what are we going to do with that? Like, I need some action. I need some. I wonder if we're going to see Bruno in the campaign team now that we've got through the State of the Union. Yeah.
It's been a while since we've seen Connie, Doug, and Bruno, for sure.
Yeah, definitely Doug. He may already be in New York.
Yeah.
But Leigh, I will I'll see you next week.
Yeah, and I know that some of the stories that we covered were kind of tougher, but I think, as this show has previously said, all war is crime, and I think there's interesting and important human stories on both sides, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah. So let's definitely get back together and do this again next week. In the meantime, we're queergalswatch@gmail.com, queergalswatch on all your socials. So feel free to please get in touch.
Drop us a message. We love to hear from you. We're honestly still just surprised that any of you exist, which is yeah, which is lovely. So when people get in touch, it feels really nice just to know that there's people out there listening.
See you soon.
I'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.